Just, just to give you a quick intro about me, so I'm Lahiru, as Rohit mentioned, and I'm based in Sri Lanka. So I work for Boundaryless as a country lead and also as the practice lead for document understanding and AI. So let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so today's topic is actually on document understanding with generative AI. So generative AI is like a very interesting topic. Nowadays, we all work on generative AI in multiple ways, experimenting, trying out different things, and seeing like how we can use it for different processes we have in the organizations. So one of that is actually document understanding itself, like how to process these documents, for example. Um, so in today's session, we will be talking about some of these topics. So just to give you an high-level idea, so when it comes to uh, document understanding, as of today, we talk about multiple technologies. Is document understanding is a combination of document processing, RPA, AI, and also like OCR or even ICR, as you call. So all this come together to process any given type of document. So these documents can include like structured documents, semi-structured, and unstructured content. So UiPath do have a lot of AI models or ML packages available to process the different document types, and this includes like invoices, purchase orders, bank statements, and many more. And as I counted, I think it's more than 40 plus ML packages that's available. And this is mainly for like structured and semi-structured stuff. But when it comes to unstructured documents, the concept is slightly different. So when I say unstructured, I'm referring to documents like legal documents, for example, where you need to extract information and you don't know where it is. It could be like the document may look like paragraphs or even or a combination of multiple things. So how exactly we need to extract this information, whether it's the paragraph itself that you want to extract, or like whether it's specific value and where it is in that paragraph. So these kind of things require a little bit of language understanding for the bot or the model to figure out what exactly we need. So, so as of today, when you talk about document understanding, it's a combination of all these models and also a little bit of language understanding models where you have named entity recognition and things around that, where you can actually extract those entities out of that information. So when we talk about named entity recognition, we are talking about different names, dates, company names, locations, and this kind of information. But those are like the basic stuff, but depending on different use cases, you may have your own customized models to extract that information. But the thing is, when you have all this stuff, but still there are complexities around it based on the use case, based on the complexity of the document, how the data is presented, and so on. So today, for all this to work, we have different tools available within UiPath. So the usual things are like when you talk about document understanding, you have this document understanding app on the environment where you can access Forms AI and some of the recently introduced quick extractors and quick classifiers. And that's where you can process all these structured documents using AI and also semi-structured content. And in addition to that, we also have AI Center and Studio activities But within AI Center, you have all these machine learning models and training pipelines. All these things are available for us to work on these documents. Um, so the the challenge here is, I'll tell you like a couple of use cases where I have seen some challenges when that may help when introducing generative AI. So there were like several documents for a specific client, and they were processing a lot of unstructured content. So these unstructured documents were like um, it has multiple pages, and this is like paragraphs of information, and some pages have kind of like a table, but that table is also different from document to document. So we had to extract few information from these documents, and it was difficult to predict where this information was. The other challenge we had was um, properly identifying these documents, what these things are. Because as for the use case, we identified several document types, like for example, let's take legal documents. But we also needed to figure out what kind of a legal document that is. So whether it's some kind of a agreement, whether it's some kind of like a contract or whatever that thing is. So identifying all that information, and it's not that easy when it comes to unstructured info because we cannot really rely on certain keywords or set of keywords. So that's when this is where the challenge is. So the complexity of the document really affects the way we need to design the solutions. So to support that, we use the existing classification models and everything, but it has its own limitations and constraints. Yeah, and when we are maintaining those things in the long run. So at the time, we were thinking that though it is working fine with the current model, but they also keep on introducing a lot of new documents because they process like huge amount of documents every day. So we were thinking like at some point how we can identify a new document without much effort in training these things. And so these are some things that we were thinking about. We did not really implement anything around those things at the time, but those are some of the discussions that we had. And for time to time, these things come up. And even recently, with the introduction of generative AI, again, we have been talking about these things and exploring how we can process or support this kind of stuff. So that's where we are currently with document understanding. It is strong and very capable of extracting and processing multiple document types, but let's see how generative AI can support this. So when we talk about generative AI, it's actually a part of artificial intelligence. Um, so AI is a combination of multiple things. So in AI, we talk about machine learning and deep learning and also generative AI. So Gen AI is like combination of all these things that you see on the screen, where you have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and even neural networks. All these are like AI related technical terms where it's based on like how these models are trained. So for example, if you're talking about supervised learning, we really tell how the training data set looks like. Right now I'm just talking in general when it comes to generative AI. So if it's for supervised learning, we just provide like the data set, and we also say that this data set or like let's say a set of columns, the values in this set of columns relate to this specific category, for example. So we give that result as well. So that's the part of supervised learning, but when it comes to unsupervised, it's like the other way around. We do not really provide that. It kind of finds the patterns on its own. So anyways, so it's the combination of all these technologies together, and that's how we get generative AI. And as of today, we do have like multiple platforms available where we can use this generative AI capabilities to do a lot of things. One of that is processing documents. So we all have talked about ChatGPT. We may have all used it for various purposes. So it's also like a part of this thing, and we have been exploring how we can use that to process documents. So when we talk about processing documents, it's like a combination of multiple things. It's not just one. Um, so with generative AI, what we do is, so there are a few things that we have been exploring. So it's mostly like things around how we can extract information from these documents, how we can classify the different documents, and not just that. Also, we have been talking about building knowledge bases out of these documents, because let's imagine a company that has all the information available in different documents, right? So how can someone access this information? How can someone easily figure out what information they need? And maybe to also personalize that information, like just like when you're talking with someone from a call center in an organization, that conversation becomes personalized, right? They answer for your scenario. But with this specific information, generic information that's available all across organization in different documents, how you can access that information and just get what you need according to your requirement. So these are some of the things that we have been researching on. So we have been using UiPath document understanding as well for these things. Document understanding combined with the integration services, because as of today, we have the connector for OpenAI in integration service. And not just that, there is also another marketplace activity called AskGPT, where you can use to process documents, to extract information out of it. So these are all the different ways that we can access the content in documents. So that's where generative AI can help. So I'll explain more as we go. Yeah, so these are some of the areas that we talked about today. So all the things that I'm saying, these things may be available today, and these things may be in exploration side of things, because I know that there are a lot of companies who explore how they can process documents with Gen AI, and these are based on some of the discussions that I have been involved with various different people across different countries. So I thought it's a good idea to share with all of you. So these are some areas that we all talk about, like document classification, document extraction, validation, and even document creation. So that's another part. So recently I have been reading, sorry, give me a second. Yeah, sorry for that. So recently I have been reading several articles where some people, they have a lot of information that comes in through various different sources like emails or even other documents. And they use RPA to process those things. But in addition to that, they also look for ways how they can use that information to create new documents, like generating new content based on that info. So when we talk about document processing, it's not just extraction or classification or validation. document creation is also like part of it. Um, as of now, with document understanding, we mostly focus on extracting and classifying this information, but that's also another part that discussion is going on. So when it comes to document classification, as I mentioned before, when you have like so many different documents and where keywords cannot really give you the best result, that's when you can actually pass that content to a generative AI model like GPT, for example, and actually ask what kind of a document that is. So this is also like one thing that I myself personally tried out on some very complicated documents that I got from someplace. So again, very similar to that specific use case, but using DU, um, just by giving keywords, it was not that easy because we need to spend a lot of effort identifying those keywords and also like training a model with that kind of variations is not an easy thing to do. So this is actually a real use case. So I'll give you a little bit of details on this. So this company, they process again a lot of documents, but that comes from various people, and these documents are combined. Like it's like some application form, for example, but this application procedure involves a whole lot of different documents, including forms and also like unstructured documents, like legal documents, bank statements, and many things. And what they do is they kind of combine all these things into one file and send it. So from when that document is received, what these guys have to do is they need to go through this document, understand the content, and split it into smaller documents. Like, for example, if you have an invoice in that document, you need to capture the invoice portion and create a new file out of it. Those kind of things. So, because of the nature of those documents, it was not easy. So, what we did was, at the time, with a machine learning classifier, along with the intelligent document classifier, we kind of trained those things page by page to properly classify. It works fine, but we had to spend a lot of time because there were so many variations in the documents. And even for a given type, there were like 20, 30, or even more documents that comes in. And the biggest challenge they had was like, what if tomorrow we get another document that they have not seen before, but still it goes into that category? Because that has been the case for a while. So as of now, those things go as exceptions, but this was also something they wanted to resolve, and we have been exploring. And with generative AI, it is actually doing a pretty decent job. It's not yet in production or anything, but these are like just experiments that we have been doing. Yeah, so same way, when it comes to data extraction, extracting information from like simple fields, like from an invoice, it's easy. But still, if you have seen some of those videos by UiPath or like different sessions they have been doing, when it comes to data labeling, there are these new features available now to try and use the GPT capabilities to automatically predict, so things get easy. So these are some new things that may come out soon. I think it's already there. So these are some things that make our lives easy in data extraction and also in training these models within UiPath. The other thing when it comes to data extraction is like improving the accuracy using the combination of all these models. So I'll show you another use case right after this um, on that. But there was another scenario when it comes to document data extraction. So we tried this with UiPath document understanding combined with OpenAI capabilities. So what we did is we kind of processed invoices along with a few other documents, but um, there were few extra documents that were actually sent by these companies, but we only needed to extract the invoice portion because the rest is not really needed. So we kind of did another experiment on this. And these are like from different languages again, it's not just English. So again, the combination of OpenAI using the integration service and the document understanding capabilities, we were able to digitize scan documents because it's the basic feature of DU, and then pass that information to these models where you can identify what needs to be extracted easily. The main thing you need to figure out here is integrating with generative AI like ChatGPT is easy because we have all these connectors and API calls that we can use. The main thing you need to understand with Gen AI is whether it's DU or whether it's something else that you are processing, like how you do the proper prompting. That there's like a separate area called prompt engineering. I don't want to go into that right now, but having that proper prompts given to your models along with your information, it actually it does a huge, it makes a huge difference. So these are just some of my hands-on experience that I'm sharing with you. So initially I was also struggling with getting some proper outputs, but after after some trial and error and research on different things, I realized that with prompts you can make a big difference. So whether it's extraction, classification, whatever, you can actually tell these models to extract the information and put it in a proper structure and return it. So you can actually eliminate a lot of coding that you need to do on your side. And I'll tell another example when it comes to document validation. So, and this also relates to the other use case I'm going to show you. So, as of today, what happens with document understanding is you have all this classification, extraction, and validation, right? But how do you really validate the information? So, for that, you need to um, do your own logic based on business rules and based on different verification methods. So, for example, if it's invoice processing, you can have your own validations. Like, so from an invoice, you extract. I always take this invoice processing thing because it's like a common thing that we all know. Um, so when it comes to invoices, you have that basic information like the total and the line amount and quantity, unit price, all this stuff, right? So how we usually do is you extract all this information to different fields, and then you do the cross check. Like, so if you want to check the line total, whether it's correct for a specific product in the invoice, you can like multiply unit price by quantity, and that gives you the line total for that item. So these are some rules that we introduced, and if you have seen in the document understanding framework by UiPath, for receipts and purchase orders, it's already done. So if you have not looked at it, just have a look. So you have a lot of validation rules that you need to write. So there was uh, you can do that, but at some point, like you also feel like, can we do it in a much easier way? Um, so I'll tell you another use case on the same thing. So again, this was also like an invoice processing thing, but the process was quite big, and for each country and for each vendor, they had a lot of business rules along with the basic validation checks that we have to do, like to cross check the information. So since the complexity of the process, there was one guy dedicated during the development to build that validation logic because it was too complicated for that client. But when this Gen AI was introduced, we kind of tested it out, like whether we can do the same thing to simplify this validation process, right? To see like if we can give a proper input to this model saying, can you just validate this thing and tell me whether I need manual verification or not? The business rules cannot be validated, of course, but at least cross-checking part from the extracted information, right? Um, and we actually did a lot of trial using UiPath and the integration service connected with OpenAI. And with a single prompt, interestingly, it was able to like give the entire output along with the confidence level and in a nice structure which we can use for the rest of the activities. So your validation process has actually improved quite a lot just by introducing Gen AI for your validation. So these are like areas where we can actually improve within document understanding itself by introducing Gen AI. And same goes for document model training. Um, so this is also something that I have been discussing with few people, like um, creating training data um, for like document understanding model. And again, that also relates to document creation, like because when you're like training these models, you need a lot of documents to train if it's something new. Um, so at some point, you may not have all the documents that you need to train it. So this was also another discussion at some point if we can make generative AI to create documents. So you can see it's with document understanding, but there's so much potential when you introduce Gen AI into the mix. So there are a lot of things that we can think about, a lot of things that we need to explore within DU and generative AI combination. So all these things are like gives a lot of potential to do various different things and extend your capabilities of document processing. So this is like a one use case that I captured from one of the slide decks that was done in a session by UiPath. So this is like a similar example that I explained earlier. So what happens here is you get a set of invoices, and using document understanding, you extract that information. And so once you extract, you may also need to do a little bit of cleansing, like removing special characters, and if you have different number formats, um, putting that into a single standard format. Same applies for dates, and then do the cross verification, like I explained, like the total checks and so on. So all these things require a lot of steps for validation and cleansing before actually starting to process them. So in these use cases, they're presented like you extract the information and then you pass that information to Azure OpenAI to do the cleansing. and then you do the matching, and then that information is again cross-checked with another external application like a ERP system to validate that information as the next step. So you already do the cross-check with the extracted info and then validate it with the internal systems using generative AI capabilities. So you reduce that validation effort quite a lot because most of those things are actually done by Gen AI things, the prompts that you send out, and it was a very interesting use case that they shared. So as you see, with DU as presented here, you use the extracted information, but you also use the information available in your internal systems to further validate it before actually processing that, but simply using Gen AI. If you're not using generative AI, you will have to write your own logic to process this. Yeah, so this is like one use case. And then the different other use cases that you can think about um, are some of these things that you see on the screen, like cross-checking information from different sources and validating that information. So this could be documents, and then as I mentioned before, like um, extracting this information and then cross-checking with your internal systems, checking, and then you send this information to user verification if it's only required. And then like processing all kind of complicated documents, not just the structured data, but also a lot of unstructured information because that's like the most complicated part of document processing, like where you process this unstructured information. So that's where generative AI can really help um, to classify that unstructured info and then extract that details out of these documents. And then comes the last thing that you see here is the vendor proposals. Um, you get a bunch of documents. So all these things are like input documents that you get. But instead of someone really validating this, going through these documents and validating it, you can actually introduce generative AI because it understands the language, train it on your data, and then use document understanding combined with Gen AI to get the best results out of it. So these are some of the things that I wanted to share, how, especially around the document understanding to showcase like how you can expand the capabilities of generative AI and document understanding, combine these things together to further process your documents, further extend these capabilities to process documents that were not able to be processed before. So those are some things that I wanted to share. Yeah, so with that, that brings me to the end of the session. I think we're a bit early, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer and maybe also discuss about other things.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, they can unmute themselves or put it in the chat if they want. The topics were really insightful, Lyro. It's like we can explore continuously, like there's no end to it with the capabilities of both the AI and DU integrations that we have.
Yeah, and just to add to that, as Parth mentioned, like there is no limit actually, because
Right,
if you
right,
really get into that, you will see a lot of things that we can actually do with the combination of these two.
right. All right. So, Lairu, there are actually three questions. One is, can you show a sample document, maybe what you talked throughout the session?
Mhm.
So, and something similar to that question is from William, that can you show a hands-on demo? Like maybe if you can execute something and show something like that.
Well, I cannot really show you those documents because those are like company specific.
Okay.
But I could, um, let me see, or maybe in a follow-up session, I can try for a hands-on demo, because
Yep.
right now
Uh,
I'm not ready for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no issues. If because this is getting recorded, so if there's something like that, we can avoid doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have another session probably in a week or two where we have some documents that we can show as well. One more question, Lyro, is from Zoe. Uh, how can we use OpenAI connector with generative AI for document processing in UiPath?
Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to the connector, so you can use the integration service, and in integration service, you have this OpenAI connector. Let me try to show that. Just a second. Since we have a little bit of time, let me stop presenting for a second.
Yep.
Um,
Till that time, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat.
Okay. I'm just opening the studio so I can
Yep.
show you. Okay. Um, all right. So here, when it comes to, where is the integration scope? So in here, you can search for OpenAI. So you have two as of now. One is for Azure OpenAI. So if you have access to Microsoft Azure, you can use that. Else, you can use this one. All you need is just the API key. So I already have it connected. And once you provide the API key that you obtained from OpenAI, this will automatically get connected. And in your studio, um, we need this activity. Sorry. I'm different. Um, yeah.
So what about internal GPT activities? So
Which one again? Sorry.
yeah, so which is internal GPT activities?
Internal to your company, this is?
No. So we can get from marketplace actually. So even I just worked some projects to integrate a document with GenAI. So while doing that, so I was just able to use internal GPT activities. So
This one you're referring to, right?
yeah.
Yes, you can actually use this one as well. So this is the other one that I mentioned, like the Ask GPT.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Yeah, exactly.
kind of like a pre-configured one.
Yep.
I think it's on Microsoft Azure. The only thing is, you can use that. You can pass the document text and
Yeah, so I can able to send my document output and then I can able to ask question.
yes, yeah, that is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Um, the it does a pretty good job. I have used this activity as well. It
Mm-hmm.
is very good. But if you want to have more customization on
Mm-hmm.
your things, you can use this OpenAI integration service activities.
Okay.
And in here, um, integration service, OpenAI, you have like two different activities for chat completion and text completion. It looks like this.
Yeah. So one more question, Lover. So here we are not able to use our Microsoft Azure OpenAI keys, right? I guess. So I have tried with a few other activities, which is internal GPT. So I was not able to use those Microsoft Azure OpenAI keys actually.
Yeah. So for this one, you actually use this integration, the OpenAI one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're using Microsoft, I think there's a different connector. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
it's this one. Um, you can try using this connector and see if
Yeah.
it works with this and see if that works. So again, with this, what happens here is you get access to the different models you have. The in the instruction part, you can really tell this um, model like this is exactly what you want to do. And so as I mentioned before, this prompting is the key for generative AI, right? This is it. I cannot really say that this is the best prompt that you can use. It may not be the case, but you need to do a little bit of trial and error to understand what's the best way to express and get the proper output. So you can actually pass the document text along with this and give you the prompt. Like, for example, if I'm to tell you, um, let's say you have an invoice and then you want to extract the information of that invoice, and we also don't know what are the fees that are available in the invoice, right? The basic fees will be there, but the fees will always not be the same across all the invoices, right? So some fees may be there, some fees may not be there. So based on that, if you want to extract that information in let's say in a JSON format, so you can easily use this and give the prompt, say that I want the output as a JSON, and this is the structure I need. So by doing that, you can get that exact result. I actually did something like that. Just a second. Let me pause a screenshot for a second. Let me actually try to find that. I hope I still have it. Um, then I may not be able to run it, but I should be able to still show how I did that. Just bear with me for a second. Wasn't prepared for a demo. Uh, I think I have it. It's opening on the other screen. Just a second. Okay. Bear with me for a second, guys. It's opening up. Okay, so this is, yeah, so this is something I tried. So this is combination of DU and GPT. So I have this digitized activities, nothing different to UiPath. It's the same digitized activity with the UiPath thing. So we digitize that, and I also do the classification here. So let me show you. This classification is actually happening through GPT activity. So what I do here is I pass the document text for this, and I give this instruction asking me to help classify this document. And I'm also saying, give me the output in this specific structure. So again, I'm not saying this is the best prompt that you can see. This is something I tried out and that worked. So I'm just sharing. It may be different for you. So just you have to do that research. So what I said is, I gave the document text here in the prompt, and in the instruction, I'm saying, help me get the result in this format. So whatever the types of documents you see in that text, I will get. Um, so let's say in that invoice or in that file, you have like two documents. One is a purchase order, the other one is an invoice. So I should ideally get uh, one saying this is an invoice and the confidence level. The other one should say this is a purchase order and the confidence level. And I can also say like, because sometimes these are language models, right? And you also have the multiple ways of presenting the information. So what I found here is sometimes the confidence level, it gives to me as high, medium, low. But sometimes when I run it, it gives me the confidence level like 100%, 90% with the percentage. Um, just a second. Sorry, background noise. Um, so the other thing I noticed is, and again, if we run it again another time, at that moment I get the confidence level like 0.9, 0.8, likewise. So I realized that instead of just saying it like this, I need to be very more specific. Like if it's a confidence level, I had to tell, give me the confidence level in decimal, for example. And then it was able to always give the result as I expected. So you need to keep on enhancing your prompt. So this is how I did the classification. And once I get it, I do the JSON deserialization and identify that. And then for each document type, just like in the UiPath view, so this was an experiment as well I did. So again, for purchase order, I was saying to extract that information and give it to me in a JSON structure.
Lairu, sorry to stop you in between. There's one question related to what you are explaining. That's why. So Zoib is asking that how have you provided file in this activity?
Okay, good question. So sorry, I missed that. So I actually use that through this digitized activity. Digitize is a part of the UiPath document understanding, and using OCR, let's say these are like scanned documents, right? So you can convert that scanned document into a string using digitized activity, and that string is what you're sending to GPT.
All right. So Zoib, we are not sending the file directly to the chat GPT activity, but we are sending the text that we are getting out of that activity.
Yes. Yes. In this experiment, that's how it works.
All right. All right. Yeah.
But again, yeah, because when it comes to GPT, the token size is also a concern, right? So there are like multiple different ways of doing that instead of just passing the entire document as it is, and it will also cost you a lot over the time, right? So there are many other ways of doing that, but that's a topic for another session because that has a lot of detailed explanation that I have to do. But this is a very simple thing that I created again to get a basic understanding how this combination works. This is for extraction as well as for validation. So this is something I tried out at some point. Okay, so there is another question like, can we use any other activity to read the document instead of digitizing? Yes, so if it is the native PDF file, we can use the PDF activities, read PDF. That will also give you uh, some research. Read PDF text. And here you have the OCR option as well. So it depends on what you want to do. But generally, if you are using it with document understanding, you can use the digitize, you can use the classification, and for the validation part, maybe you can pass this information, whatever is extracted, for GPT, verify it, and get the results back instead of you writing a whole bunch of logic. That's the easy way. I hope that helps. Any other questions?
Yeah, no, I don't see. Okay, can we use any other activity to read? Okay, I think you already covered that up. All right, so there's one question from Santosh Naidu, that what is the difference between the machine learning extractor that we have like in DU and the GPT one that we are using? So like, what is the difference?
Okay, so GPT, when you talk about that, that is actually a language model. It is able to understand your language, understand the context, and reply to you according to what you want out of it, right? But when it comes to the machine learning models that we have in UiPath, especially designed for document understanding, these models are pre-trained to process different documents. It could be invoices, bank statements, receipts, anything. So there are like 40 plus pre-trained models available in the AI center. So all you need to do is just enable it, and if you want to do some training on top of that, just fine tune it and use it. But it's not a language model. It is just to process those documents. What happens with uh, how you can actually combine these two together is like you can use those models to do the extraction. And once you have the results for the verification, that's the difficult part, right? The verification, you can, instead of writing this huge logic, you can pass that information in a proper structured way to this GPT because it understands the natural language, it understands the programming up to some extent, right? Like JSON. So you can pass that information and ask the model to do the verification for you. Just imagine, so I gave this scenario, showed you scenario, right? You have a purchase order and the same information, let's say it is available in some kind of internal system and you just need to verify that. Instead of you writing a logic for each and every field that you are extracting and validating, you simply just pass this to information to the model, ask, can you help me do the verification, right? And in a single activity, you get the result. So that's the difference. And that's the difference in the usage as well. Hope that is clear. And there's another one. If we create a ML skill in AI Center using DU feature, how to use that ML skill in UiPath Studio. Okay, so for document understanding, there is an activity called data extraction scope in the workflow, and in the data extraction scope, you can add the ML extractor activity inside it and connect it to the model that you created or the skill that you created in AI Center. That's how you connect. And for resume screening, which one is the best? And again, I haven't tried resume screening myself, but you can give a try. Just try training some of the models in AI Center. You have the generic document understanding model, which you can use and train. And I know that I was connected with some people at some point, like few months back. They were doing a resume screening project and they used the UiPath document understanding, the generic DU model that's available. They trained it and they used it for resume screening. So that is possible, but you can explore both. Yes. I cannot really say which one is the best because I haven't tried it myself. Hmm. Any
So
updates
there's,
you know
yeah,
about GPT? Um, I'm not sure about the updates, how that is happening, but the only thing I know is that it is a good activity to use, as I mentioned before, and because you get the result of the document very nicely. But still, if you want to have more customization, use the OpenAI. But be careful with the privacy related stuff because the with generative AI privacy is always a concern. So having that in mind, do your due diligence.
all right. Yeah, I see no questions as of now, Lairu. Let's give it a minute or two if we get any questions. If not, then I think we can end the AI session.
Yep. Yep. And I hope this was helpful in understanding how DU can work together with Gen AI and the
Yeah.
potential. I
The,
was really focused on showing that potential on this combination. That's why I wasn't really prepared for a demo because I didn't want to limit it to that. Yes, I think this one is for you, Path.
so I'm just writing probably in a week or two. Maybe we'll plan it because we have other sessions lined up as well. So we'll see how that goes and we can plan it in a week or two, Pradyuman. I think people already think you are a chat GPT for generative AI and DU Lahiru. So I think many might connect with you on LinkedIn as well post this session to ask questions with respect to this.
Of course, if you want to connect, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn and
Yeah, Rohit already did share your LinkedIn profile, so
okay.
everyone already has that. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Any questions? And before we go ahead and close the session, so just I'll quickly share my screen. So other than AI, if there is anyone who are exploring other products of UiPath, right? We are having another session that is on 31st July, exactly 7 days after this session. That is going to be on UiPath apps, how to deploy UiPath apps, how to manage and version controlling and all that. So we are going to have the session in Mumbai chapter. And again, it is virtual session, so please do RSVP for this session. You can read about the events. Speakers are myself and Arvind Kumar. He is also an UiPath MVP. So we'll be having the sessions around this topic. So do RSVP for this particular event. I'll share the link in the chat. Yeah. So, yep. So if you're working on UiPath apps or you have any feedback, you can come up with that in that session. And yeah, rolling back to any questions for Lairu. If any, then please do ask, or else we can end this session. All right. There's one more thing that we have, like, I'll just hand it over back to Layu. There's one very exciting thing that he has to talk about, and yeah, already many congratulations to you on that, Lairu. So Lairu, please go ahead. You can definitely talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so this is since we are talking about document understanding. So recently I released a new book on the intelligent document processing. So it is available on the Amazon for you to purchase. So I'll share the links with you. Just a second for me to show it. Uh, just a second. I'll search for it in the Amazon. Okay, so these are the two things. Let me just put them on. Yes, so this book is actually focused on intelligent document processing. So this has a lot of things that you can learn about related to document processing, and this is it's not just IDP. It's like how you can use intelligent document processing in your RPA solutions. So it has a lot of use cases, a lot of best practices, guidelines, checklists, and how you can optimize your models, training, how you can design a efficient document understanding workflow using UiPath. So all that information is available in this book. So it is available in two links at the moment. So this Notion Press is specific for India. It's only available for India, but this Amazon.in for anyone in Asia, you can, or in India, they can use this link to purchase it, and it's yet to be available for other countries like Europe, US. That will be up in a day or two. It's in progress. It just takes a while in Amazon to get listed. So in the meantime, I'll just share these two links with all of you, so you can look at it. Where is the chat? This is Amazon. Thanks a lot, Parth, for that.
Yep, no issues. All right. Awesome. So people do have to more explore with your book as well regarding IDP. So I think that's good. Yeah. All right. Anyone, any questions? And if no, then we are good to end this session. I think Lahiru, we are good. Maybe